my goodness.
I'm gonna blow it out now.
That's his signature thing.
Here we are, back again in East Philadelphia, Ropeadope TV. Lewis here. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being a participant in episode 16, maybe? Something like that.
Really?
15, 16, something. 16.
16.
Hell yeah. It's a whole lot of this going on. Fabian Brown, good to see you again.
Nice to be seen, brother.
Thanks for being here. We did mention in an episode that somebody recognized you as the Ropeadope TV guy, did we not?
I was so honored. RC.
I want to acknowledge that. It's a beautiful thing. You know? That was your 15 seconds of fame.
I'll take it any day of the week.
There you go. I just want to thank you for being part of this journey.
I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm excited about today's show, too.
Good.
I really am.
I'm processing what we're going to talk about.
Well,
staying on the unprepared tip. I do have some good ideas. You got notes?
I got notes. All right, so we're gonna review some Ropeadope tracks.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, the foundation of the show is reviewing tracks, right?
Well, we're going backwards this time.
Okay.
We're not talking about upcoming releases.
Okay.
Although we will have some upcoming release. Yes.
That's correct. We are going to be talking about some brand new music from the Pollyseeds.
You know what Pollyseeds are?
I didn't know, but I do know now.
Yep. For the audience, Pollyseeds, sunflower seeds.
Right.
You've seen that package, red, white, blue, and gold.
Yep.
David Pollyseeds.
But I think that's a California thing. I don't think anyone on the East Coast calls them Pollyseeds, or maybe they do.
I don't think they call them Pollyseeds, but they got them. Down at the ball field, I see a package just about every day.
1,000%.
I think that's some sort of cosmic interference. But the Pollyseeds, Terrace Martin presents the Pollyseeds.
Yes.
By the time this airs, it will have premiered on Rolling Stone, and the news will be out with a single track, and we're going to air that track a little bit later in the show.
You're going to be talking about the roster of amazing musicians that we have here at Ropeadope, interweaving that, but bringing it back to the Pollyseeds. It's funny because working with you, I get to witness the curation process on how you're selecting incoming, not just music, man, but incoming. The word that jumps out is vibe. Incoming awesomeness. What is, it's not really A&R. What's that process? What's your curation process?
Well, I think what you have here is somebody who's coming at it myself from the position of it's Eddie Palmieri, by the way, Sabiduria. I just happened to come at this from a completely different space because I didn't know how to do it.
Well, you don't play an instrument.
I don't play an instrument.
You don't sing?
Don't have any experience. I didn't go to school for music business.
Okay.
I've never worked for a record label until I bought this one. I learn as I go.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's literally amazing.
It's not particularly unusual for me because that's kind of how I've lived my life. Just go in and do stuff. I was trained to do that by my dad, to just try things,
Right.
So I figure you learn as you go. Rather than planning everything out, setting it up, and having a colossal failure, I like to just sort of start out, learn it as I go, and then pivot, I like a small boat, not a big tanker,
Not afraid to make mistakes?
Not a Titanic, but just, boom. If there's an accident, that thing's done. You know what I mean? Like, smaller boat, I'm good.
That's different, man, because, like, you got guys who legit go to school and who have, aspirations, getting into the music business and starting a record label and having all these ideas and...
Oh, man, we can name them, right? There's, like, Rick Rubin and countless others who work at record labels, right?
Right.
Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I mean,
that's
what the industry is filled with.
That's my point. They study this. This is an art for them. This is a science for them. But here you are coming in with no background experience musically or in the music business side, but then you have this crazy, ridiculous roster of like these great people. They're not even great musicians or great artists. They're just great. They're great.
They're not only great musicians and artists. They're also great people.
That's right.
Well, okay, so. And this all ties in. Pay attention to the music that's on in the background, because I did kind of set up a set list tonight of some people from different parts of the world or the country,
right?
Who have released records on Ropeadope.
Okay.
That to someone who's maybe listening to them for the first time, I don't know. Let me say that a different way. To someone who is very familiar with different genres. Okay. Or somebody who's very familiar with the music industry, the music business, would say, well, those are very different. Okay? So we first heard Eddie Palmieri. Now we're coming into a track off of Spanky McCurdy's album.
Circa.
There it is right here. What's that, 1981? No. Yeah, it's circa 81. Mm-hmm. I still know my Roman numerals. Let it be stated.
I know.
Yeah. I do actually learn things from
public school education.
Other things than just experience. Although I think that might have been on a drunk driving test I took once.
Did you pass?
Wasn't even funny. Of course I passed. Jeez. Give me a break. Spanky McCurdy, Spank. So, we could go back and maybe we should do that on one of these shows and cut back in. And actually, you can just do that. You can back up, go back to the beginning. But to me, there isn't a lot of... There's certainly difference between this track and that Eddie Palmieri track. But to me, there's something common in there. And I don't know how that's happening, but I hear something very similar. So it's forcing me at this point to take a look at what my curation process is. And that's because I don't know anything about the music, or I know very little about the structure of the music and how it's made, and I know very little about the existing system of how to place things in certain genres. There's a certain, I don't know what it is, but there's a certain feel that I get. And what's happening now is that more and more of it is coming together. Things are starting to sound more and more similar to each other, to me. That could very well be that I'm just listening to all this stuff all the time.
Right.
But I have had people, musicians, say to me, I really like the Ropeadope roster. It's very concise and focused. And I'm going, really? We signed, a classically trained musician who was doing a cello record, and then we signed a New Orleans guy with a horn, and, but it certainly feels from the outside, I think, to some people that things sound the same. And now here we go. This is a great example. Now I'm not just going to say that this track sounds exactly like the first track.
No.
But there's a bridge here.
It's similar. Yep.
Okay, that ties in my mind. Rose gold. What I felt the first time I love the song. Yeah. Just gets better every time you hear it. I challenge anybody to send in comments and show me what's sexier than that.
Oh,
right there. So
you gotta address the rumor for me, though. There's a rumor floating around.
What's the rumor?
The rumor is floating around that you're retiring. That's the rumor.
Where'd you hear this?
Yeah, well, I got people.
East Philly Saloon or something like that?
I got people. I got people, man.
I am in the early stages of planning my retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that
It could
means.
happen in a month. It could happen in a year. But here's the deal. We're going to come back to how the things sound the same. But this is a growing, dynamic thing.
Yeah.
There's so many great artists in the midst of this.
For sure.
And in the process of building out and growing, which is extremely difficult, I might add, in a market where people just stream music. And I'm not blaming the individuals, and just kind of like it's a difficult market, right? But I forgot what I was going to say.
You're planning.
Oh, so now in the process of growing, I've applied a similar model to hiring staff. So instead of I'm going to hire you full-time to take over and run this part of it and manage this, we basically have a loose group of people in Nashville and Coatesville, Pennsylvania, and down here in East Philly. And there will be more,
Right.
Maybe ultimately there will be hundreds, but they will all be distributed, and it will all be very similar to an artist's life in the sense that they also have other things that they do.
That's right.
And this is part. And what's very important about that is that the labor of love is still in there, and the value that is received in the process of doing the job is not just defined in a monetary sense, right? So, but in the process of that, I'm really loving this Ropeadope staff. You guys are killing it, and different people are coming in and out. And my sons are involved in this. It's really wonderful. So where does that leave me? I'm ready to pass the torch and because I just want to point out, I got ideas. Yeah. I mean, Ropeadope is limited in what one record label can do to have influence in changing the landscape of the music business. Not the whole music business. You're still gonna line up to see Katy Perry and Drake. I'm cool with that. That's okay. McDonald's still exists.
For sure.
But when I really want a good cheeseburger, I'm not doing that. Right? Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that McDonald's. When you want the good quality thing, you go and you pay for that thing of quality, and you enjoy that, right?
I like how you said that.
So, but I have more ideas about how to support musicians, and I have some things in the works, and I want to be able to go and focus on those. So yeah, I'm getting older. This time thing. Mitch Hedberg, the comedian? We were talking about this last night. Where somebody says, "Hey, here's a picture of me when I was younger," and he's like, "Every picture of you is a picture of you when you were younger." And what I like about that joke is, aside from the humor, is that time's going by, man.
That's right.
That's a fact of life on this planet. Is that time runs out. You got to leave the amusement park. You got to go home at the end of the day. So there's certain things that I want to do, and Ropeadope is wonderful.
So you got some plans, you got some goals, you got things up your sleeve, is what I'm really hearing.
I got some dreams.
I like
some things I want to build, and do you know the expression "going for the brass ring"?
I don't.
Does anybody in the studio audience know that? He doesn't know it, but he does.
The youngest one does.
Well, no, there's a reason why he knows, because we used to go down to, you know what a carousel is? You ride the carousel, the horses, the little ponies and stuff?
Up and down, right?
Yeah. So they used to have a little machine that would put out, and you'd come around, and you'd try to grab a ring out of this machine. And if you got the brass ring, which was shiny,
right, you win a prize.
The others were like iron or steel or whatever. Then you got a free ride on the carousel. But the expression means, Go for the brass ring. Don't just ride around in circles. Just lean out. Take a chance. You could have lost your finger doing it. They stopped doing it. Because I'll bet you some kid just was like, oh, there goes your finger. But
there was no waivers being signed then.
No.
This
Back
track,
in the day. Yeah.
I think we spoil people with the music that happens on this show. Maybe that's just me being, I don't know. This is some great stuff. Opinion. Some great stuff.
So here we are. Now we're in Philly, right? So we just went from Puerto Rico to Philly. So what am I talking too much?
You're good, man.
I'm good? All right. That's why we started the show, so that I could just talk. Somebody could capture me talking. Killiam Shakespeare featuring Jennah Bell. Philadelphia. Soul, jazzy, jazz, electronic. No fear of electronic music. No novelty of electronic music, just like, here's the vibe, here's the production. To me, it ties right back into Spanky McCurdy, Spank, and back to Terrace Martin. And these guys are they're not calling each other up. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm going to do this record and it's going to sound like this.
No.
Or they're not going to the same well of music. Everybody, there's all this, it's funny, the diversity and the chaos of all the different possible inputs come out with a similar sound.
My opinion, I think everybody's listening to the same stuff. Not the same stuff, but everyone's plugging into the source. Everyone is really chewing on the stuff that's just the good stuff. And it's just these permutations of their interpretation of what they're bringing in and what they're putting out. That's my opinion about it now. But I guess I would say if you were to put a poll on, give me your top 10. Give me your top 10. There's gonna be some sick crossover.
There's gonna be more similarity than
right.
Right. Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe.
Well, these are possibilities. I don't. I have a feel for what I think is happening, and maybe it's everybody's, dipping into the same well. Quite possible. But everybody is tasked, as Christian Scott said in a recent interview, is tasked with pushing it forward. Regardless of whether the well is the same, the idea of jazz, he mentions, but I think music in general, is to push in and then get it, or push and get into new territory. Right?
That was a great interview.
So we're gonna have a little premiere here. Our first Ropeadope announced official premiere coming up now. Terrace Martin presents the Pollyseeds, a record that we have kept in this digital age under our hats.
So funny. We had that meeting today, and we're talking about the rollout of this, and I'm like, I don't have access to any of that stuff. Oh, here it is.
Seems to be. Is this recorded just lower? Like because on my dial here, I'm just.
I don't know. The fellas set it up. Trust the fellas.
Different tracks have different volumes, like right out of iTunes or whatever, right?
Right. Well, they're all mastered, but from album to album, it's different.
Gotcha. So there we go. You'll be able to hear that one in full at downloads.ropeadope.com. You can jump on to rollingstone.com at this time. That's there. It's appropriate, you know. It's, you know, Terrace Martin is a star. The Pollyseeds are all stars. I mean, rose gold on this record. We're not even gonna get, just, they're all Pollyseeds. You'll figure it out. Beautiful band. All stars who are putting the music first.
Yep.
Writing great songs. Terrace, you know, producing and giving it a particular sound. And what interests me, taking it back to the beginning, is how that sound is not that far off in a certain way. Still got its own style, you know.
For sure.
It's heavily its own style, its own vibe, right? But it ties back in, for me, to Spank, RC and the Grits, who else?
The Pollyseeds.
Well, the Pollyseeds is what we're hearing, yeah. And even back to Eddie Palmieri. So, like, all of that stuff to me sounds...
So you said, okay, so that's basically saying New York, Philly, Dallas, LA.
Yeah.
So, like, once upon a time, there was this thing, you know, in the 90s where you had, like, the East Coast, the West
people are
Coast.
still talking about it, and that's kind of why I wanted to do the show. People are still talking about that LA sound.
Right.
And while the sound is particularly LA, at this moment in time, it ties in.
Right.
And we know that Terrace has been to Dallas.
Yeah.
And we know that RC's been to Philly.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, you know, this is the new world. And, you know, I'm trying to formulate the idea about what becomes the Ropeadope sound. You know, we're going to be way too diverse. We probably have a poetry record coming up in the fall, right? So we're going to do diverse things, but something's cooking in here where there's a certain sound that is the LA sound, but it's not just
the LA
sound. And it is the Dallas sound, but it's not just the Dallas sound, you know? And there are moments in history where this happens, you know? Punk is a great example, where you've got the Ramones out of Jersey and Jonathan Richman out of Boston and Richard Hell out of New York, and then suddenly, boom, the Clash and the Sex Pistols pop up out of London, right? They're playing this, they're talking to each other, right?
This playlist, Lewis, this playlist.
What's the matter with this playlist?
You should be a DJ. There's nothing the matter with that at all. That's.
Have we announced yet what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a playlist on Apple Music.
No, you haven't.
If I ever get around to it, yeah. Sorry, Apple, but I'll get there. I've been busy, you know, crate digging in a very digital way.
Right.
Yeah, in a very real and present digital way.
So now scrolling.
So most DJs like digging the crates for stuff that's already out. I'm just collecting people. So. Anyway, man, how great is it? I'm so lucky. I'm excited about what's coming up.
Yeah, so what's, you know, you talked about the Pollyseeds, and that's a huge announcement that you've been keeping under wraps for some time now.
Yeah, we have.
So, I mean, listen, like that meeting we had today was like, here it is. It's arrived. Like, what we've been working
And everybody was locked out.
Right.
Like, unless you were in here listening.
Oh, Fabian.
Yeah. So right behind the Pollyseeds is Trevor Lawrence Jr.
Yes.
Incredible record.
Oh.
Keep watching this show because you know you're going to hear it here first.
Relationships.
There's my plug. Relationships is the name of the album. I think Trevor's been on social saying who's on the record, but nobody's really heard about it, heard any of the tracks yet, so that's going to come up. The second in the Christian Scott trilogy is kind of trickling out. It's going to be up on, another track is going to be premiered on Bandcamp in a couple of days, I think next Tuesday. I think you're going to see something pop up on Hype Machine.
Nice.
A couple other places. Christian, we just got back from
oh man,
radio.
Non-con.
How did you like that?
It was my first time going.
I'm asking you questions now.
No,
you can't put the notes in front of me.
Nah, sorry. Do not look.
Those are questions you're supposed to ask.
Listen, any opportunity to support Ropeadope musicians is going to be, you know, I'm jumping at it, first of all, first person. You know, Christian's performance, you know, hearing the group play live, you know, again, not my first time, but hearing them play live and then hearing the conversation they have and the engagement they have with the audience was phenomenal. You know, meeting, you know, the press outlets and, you know, their idea of how this thing is going to change and shift, you know, moving forward, because things are disruptive, right? Everything is disruptive. Everything that we've known to exist has now been disrupted with I mean, people say technology, but it is what it is. But for me, the show at South, that's where everything came together. And, you know, when Christian Scott talks, he's very, very articulate with not just the history, but where it's going with when it comes to
he has
jazz.
a vision.
Completely.
Yeah, it's very crystal clear with him. It's almost the point where you're like, how do you know, bro?
Right.
But he does know, and he knows because he's making it happen.
And he can articulate
Beautiful.
it where everybody's like, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I get it. You know, he's just very, he has a way of words, and you know, he puts the instrument to his lips, and he just plays his ass off. And I don't know, it was just a great show. We had a great time. You know, the ladies came out, and you know, that was nice, and thank you for that too. And
the double date.
Yeah.
The accidental double date.
Yeah.
I like that.
Danielle's still talking about
Shout
that.
out to Danielle and Quinn.
Yeah.
On that one. Yeah. It
It
was good. We looked good next to them.
I know.
Yeah. We looked a lot better than we do right now. That's for sure. All right, we just heard Killiam Shakespeare feature Chris Turner. Again, you know, a different feel on a vocal.
Got it.
I think from, you know, Think of You and Intentions, but a little heavier, but Chris certainly channeling Marvin Gaye there.
Yeah.
And now we just drop into some Mark de Clive-Lowe. A song called L+H for Yusef Lateef.
Is this a church? What is this on?
This is on the Live at the Blue Whale
This is
record.
Live at the Blue Whale. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
and I think we just kind of went around in a circle there, and I see we're getting close on time, but we're around in a circle from, you know, what is, I guess, more of a traditional jazz album into some things that are more heavily produced with electronics, and I'm going to stop talking now because now I'm starting to define the things. But now we come back around to somebody who's a master who kind of balances both worlds. That's awesome. You know, he's got many years of fiddling with electronics, but also playing jazz. So,
and doing it live. I mean, that's a whole other game in itself. Like he's producing live on stage.
Right.
What people.
Yeah, there's no take backs. There's no like
one and done, bro.
Can't fix that. Just go. Yeah. And this is live. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So. Somewhere there's been a digital error because I thought I had a little more time. You got any more questions for me, or are we good?
I mean, just tie this up for me. And you know what I hear from today's conversation is, you know, a wide representation of the roster of musicians. You know, all sound. There's some connection between everybody, whether you're from New York, or whether you're from Philadelphia, whether you're from Dallas, whether you're from LA. You know, you having vision on not just where Ropeadope is going, but what impressions you want to leave, you know, on this small segment of this industry.
Right.
You know, shouting out the staff and their contribution. You know, but to kind of close things out for me, this is you tell me. End the show, you know, the vision. You know, where are we going, man? You know, where are you going, and where are you taking us? You know, in 30 to 60 seconds. You know, where are we going?
The elevator pitch. The first thing I'm going to say is that there's a new sound.